Hi everybody, this is the English Gentleman here at Robusto Cigars, the home of the English Gentleman. And I'm with Sam one more time. Thank you, Sam. So, I've been asked by a lot of people, I have a lot of friends that actually travel to Cuba to purchase Cuban cigars.
Yeah, a lot of people have been traveling ever since the last administration kind of relaxed the restrictions on travel to Cuba.
Right.
I've heard numbers 600,000 a year, something in that range that go to Cuba every year.
Wow, so a lot of people travel to Cuba then?
Right now, the current administration kind of rolled back those relaxations, so it's not as easy to go there as like 5 years ago, but people still go. And one of the things that the law did in the previous administration is that they said now you can bring cigars back into the United States,
Right.
either from Cuba or from any other country, Cuban cigars in the vicinity of 100 cigars or $800 worth of cigars, something like that. So give or take 3-4 boxes of cigars you can bring back. However, only for personal consumption,
Okay,
not for trade.
so that's the law.
That's the law. And I get a lot of people in here coming in and asking me for a Cuban cigar, and I tell them, look, we can't sell Cuban cigars in this country. We've had an embargo since 1962.
Oh, okay.
And a lot of them don't know that, and a lot of them think that the embargo has been lifted. So I keep telling them, no, that's not the case. The embargo is still there. I'm not legally allowed to sell Cuban cigars, and I will not break the law.
Right.
I will offer you all kinds of non-Cuban cigars. But anyway, they're surprised that that's the case. By the way, I just brought us a couple of cigars here.
Yeah, these are
to
very
smoke.
nice.
And there's a very important significance about this cigar that I want to mention real quick. Back in 2008, this cigar was named the #1 cigar in the world
Wow.
by the Cigar Aficionado magazine, which every year they pick the top 25 cigars of the year.
Right, okay.
And they sample in excess of 700 cigars to pick their top 25. And this cigar came in as the #1 cigar of 2008 in the world.
Right.
And this is a Nicaraguan cigar. This is called the Casa Magna Colorado Robusto. So I'm guessing Casa Magna is kind of a twist on words, and Carta Magna maybe.
Maybe, right.
But it's a catchy name. But the significance about this cigar is that the makers of this cigar are two guys that collaborated in making this cigar. One of them is Nestor Plasencia, and the other one is Manuel Quesada Jr. And the significance, I gotta toast a little bit. Anyway, I'll talk while I do this.
Okay.
The significance is that Nestor's uncle, Herminio Plasencia, fled Cuba right around the time of the revolution. And because Castro, as we all know, nationalized all private industries in Cuba, including
Right.
the cigar industry,
Right.
and sort of, which is a nicer way of saying he just stole people's property.
Pretty much.
So, so people like Herminio Plasencia fled the country, and started from ground zero in other countries,
Right.
such as Nicaragua or Dominican Republic, places like that, even Canary Islands. And the other guy that fled during this time frame was Manuel Quesada Sr. And he fled Cuba for the same reasons, and he established shop in Dominican Republic.
Okay. So he basically took all the knowledge that he gained from being in Cuba over to his new residence, basically.
Absolutely, absolutely. These guys were the masters of the leaf over there. They were the absolute knowledgeable people, farmers, tobacco farmers, manufacturers, and they were all driven out when Castro took over their businesses. So these guys took their knowledge, took a handful of seeds and went to other countries and started from zero. And in all these decades, they've mastered their art.
Right.
They've perfected their craft. And this is an example where Herminio's nephew, Nestor, and Manuel's son, Manolo Quesada, who are two of the most prominent, prolific cigar makers today,
Right.
created a cigar such as this, and this
beautiful.
was the #1 cigar of the year in 2008. To give you another example, Gilberto Oliva is also another maestro from Cuba who left during the time of the revolution. And we all know the Oliva family and the cigars that they make today.
Right.
They had they were crowned #1 cigar of the year in 2015 with a cigar they made called Melanio, Oliva Melanio. And that was the #1 cigar of 2015. So what I'm trying to get at is that all these exiles from Cuba, the masters, established shop elsewhere in the world, outside of Cuba. And here's an interesting statistic. Going back to this top 25 cigars from Cigar Aficionado magazine.
Right.
I did a little research.
Cool.
I went back 10 years, starting from 2008 to 2017, and I looked at the top 5 cigars for each year that these folks picked as the top 5 cigars in the
Right.
world. Of course, that includes Cuban cigars, every kind of cigar from anywhere in the world. And then, like I said, they sample like 700 plus cigars a year.
Wow.
So out of the top 5 cigars for the past 10 years, only 10 of them, out of the 50 possible cigars, only 10 of them were Cuban cigars.
Wow.
40 of them were non-Cuban cigars.
Right.
In fact, in the year of 2008, where this cigar was crowned as #1 cigar of the year, there were 0 Cuban cigars in the top 5.
Right.
So in the 10 years, looking at the top 5 cigars, 80% of the cigars in the top 5 rankings are non-Cuban cigars.
Wow.
So if anybody today says that Cuban cigars are second to none,
Right.
and they're absolutely the greatest, is ignoring the past 50, 60 years of history, where all these people, like the Quesada and the Plasencias and the Gilberto Oliva, the Jose Padron, he left in that time frame, and we know all about Padron cigars today, what an enterprise, what an empire he has made out here, and how excellent those cigars are. And even Menendez and Garcia, the makers of Monte Cristo cigars, back in Cuba in the 50s, they fled Cuba too,
Right.
because their company was overtaken by the revolutionaries, and they went to the Canary Islands, etc. So what I'm saying is, let's not ignore the 50, 60 years of history that created these master makers, cigar makers outside of Cuba, and they're making phenomenal cigars.
Right.
And like I said, 80% of the top 5 cigars in the world in the last 10 years are non-Cuban cigars.
Right. So it's almost as if this cigar that I'm smoking, it's almost like Cuban influenced or a Cuban family cigar. The family art is passed on.
Absolutely. They brought the seeds, they brought the traditions, they brought their talent, and the art has been passed on. You're absolutely right. And so it's a combination of tradition,
Right.
the culture of cigar making, the art of cigar making, combined with the developments in the new world, and perfecting the farming, the manufacturing processes,
Right.
and all of this stuff. where you're in a free world, you have all kinds of options available to you. If you're looking for a microclimate that resembles or is even better than what you had in Cuba, then look at what you have in front of you. You have all these cigar regions in Nicaragua, all these cigar regions in Dominican Republic, Honduras, Ecuador, Brazil. The list is endless. Costa Rica. So the options are way more than what you had available to you in Cuba, which in fact, the best tobacco in Cuba comes from two small towns, San Luis and San Juan and Martinez in the Vuelta Bajo region.
Right.
So how much tobacco can you grow in those two little areas to satisfy global demand of several 100 million cigars a year?
Right.
So you have to think that there's some.
You got to think outside the box, right? Think out the cigar box, you would say. So it's almost as if the Cuban families have taken their knowledge and actually surpassed the traditional Cuban cigar.
I would say so. Some people would not think that, but I would definitely say so.
Right. And so I'm really enjoying this Casa Magna cigar, and I highly recommend it. And it's available at Robusto's. Just ask for Sam. You'll have the phone number at the end of this episode. So Sam, thank you so much for all your help. You are a well of knowledge. I don't know what we'd do without you. This is the English Gentleman signing off here at Robusto Cigars. It's the home of the English Gentleman and the new cigar that I like. Remember, live well, my friends.